I never thought I'd be the guy writing one of these. You know, the guy scrolling through r/surviving infidelity at 2 a.m., trying to make sense of his life falling apart like a poorly built IKEA shelf. But here I am. Because yesterday, I opened a folder on my wife's laptop that she forgot to close. And now, I can't unsee what I saw. Let me back up a bit. My name's Eric. I'm 34. I've been married to Jessica, 32, for 6 years, together for almost 9. No kids, we were waiting for the right time, but now I realize she was probably just waiting for someone better. Jessica works in marketing, one of those remote jobs where she's constantly on a Zoom call or catching up with a client. I never questioned it. I had no reason to. She's smart, charming, and always made me feel like I was the luckiest man alive. Until 3 days ago. I was working from home because of a power outage at the office. Jessica was at a coffee shop with a client. She left in a rush, and I stayed in our shared home office to finish a report. She forgot her charger. Came back. Grabbed it. Left her laptop unlocked. And then, I saw it. A folder on her desktop called Trip Expenses. We hadn't been on a trip in months. Out of curiosity, and okay, yeah, maybe a little suspicion, I clicked it. Inside were subfolders. Denver_June. Chicago_May. Miami_April. My stomach twisted. She told me she'd been on those trips for networking retreats. I had never gone with her. She said it was company policy, no spouses. There were photos. Dozens. Photos of her, with someone else. Not just standing next to him. Not group shots. No. These were intimate. Personal. Taken in hotel rooms. Him holding her from behind. Her kissing his cheek in a bathrobe. Both of them in bed, half covered in sheets. I clicked through them like I was possessed. My heart was pounding so loud I swear I could feel it in my ears. Then I opened a document titled Denver Notes. I'm shaking as I write this. She had written a diary. A freaking diary of every trip with him. Every time they snuck off together. Every lie she told me. How thrilling it felt to get away from the boring routine. How I would never understand what passion really is. I sat there, frozen. I couldn't cry. I couldn't scream. I couldn't even breathe properly. I just sat there, knowing my wife, the woman I loved and trusted more than anything, had created an entire double life. I don't know who the guy is yet. But I'm going to find out. And I'm going to tell the whole damn story. Because if this is how it ends, I'm not going down quiet. I couldn't sleep that night. I stared at the ceiling, listening to the sound of Jessica breathing next to me, peaceful, unaware that her entire web of lies had just unraveled. I played the scenes from her diary in my head on a loop. The kisses. The lies. The cold way she described me like I was just part of her furniture. I made a plan. She had told me a week earlier that she was heading to Chicago for a client dinner and overnight strategy session. Said it was with some VP from a brand she was pitching to. I didn't say a word. Instead, I booked my own flight. Found a cheap hotel near the one she usually stayed at. I knew it because she once accidentally left the reservation email open on our shared tablet. The day she left, I waited 2 hours before heading to the airport. I didn't text her. Didn't call. I acted normal. When I landed in Chicago, I didn't go to my hotel, I went straight to hers. I wore a hoodie and a baseball cap. I know how paranoid that sounds, but I was in full-on survival mode. My heart was thudding out of my chest, but I kept telling myself, you need the truth. You need proof. You need to know you're not crazy. She arrived 2 hours later. Not alone. A tall guy, maybe late 30s, clean cut, cocky swagger, stepped out of the Uber with her. They were laughing. He had his hand on her back. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped my phone trying to take a picture. She looked up at him the way she used to look at me. And that broke me. They walked in. She leaned her head on his shoulder while checking in. I stayed across the street. I waited for an hour. Then I saw the lights go on in her room, corner suite, 10th floor. Curtains wide open like she didn't have a husband watching her from the sidewalk. I snapped photos. I took video. They were drinking wine. She was dancing. He pulled her close. They kissed. I turned around and walked back to my hotel, numb. Not crying. Not angry. Just gone. Like I had left my soul behind on that sidewalk in Chicago. I didn't sleep that night. I kept replaying the moment in my head, Jessica kissing him in front of the hotel window like it was nothing. Like I didn't exist. But it wasn't just the betrayal that ate at me. It was his face. Something about it felt familiar. I kept zooming in on the video I'd taken, pausing it, rewinding, staring. And then, it hit me. The guy was Ethan. My old coworker. The guy I used to play fantasy football with. The guy who came to our wedding. We hadn't talked in a couple of years, but back then. We used to grab beers, double date with Jessica and his then girlfriend, and talk about how lucky we were to have good women. He had moved to Denver. Jessica had been to Denver. I felt sick. I started digging into emails, old texts, flight confirmations, even social media DMs. The deeper I went, the worse it got. They'd known each other for years. They were messaging behind my back long before the business trips even started. I found a photo from 3 years ago at a friend's barbecue. Ethan had his arm around me, Jessica smiling right beside him. In the background, you can barely see it, her hand on his wrist. How long had it been going on? 3 years? 4. Was any of our marriage real? The night after Chicago, I flew home before her. I was calm. Dead calm. The kind of calm that scares people. Jessica got home the next evening like nothing had happened. She even brought me one of those ridiculous souvenir mugs with the city skyline on it. I looked her in the eyes, nodded, and said, "Thanks." She smiled. "You okay? You seem quiet." I shrugged. "Long day." She went to shower. That's when I placed the manila envelope on the kitchen table. Inside. Printed photos from the hotel window. Screenshots of her diary entries. Copies of text messages I pulled from her iCloud backup. A note that simply said, "I know everything." I slept on the couch. The next morning, she walked in, pale as death. "Eric, we need to talk." I let her talk. She said things like, "It just happened, I felt lost, and I didn't want to hurt you." Then she dropped it. "I think it's best if we separate. Maybe even, divorce." I stood up, walked over to the drawer, and pulled out the documents I'd filed online the night before. "Already done," I said, without blinking. "Signatures on the way. You'll be served next week." She broke down. Screaming. Crying. Begging. Swearing it wasn't serious with Ethan. Telling me, "You're overreacting. That, we can fix this." But I was already gone. I had been gone since Chicago. She just didn't know it yet. After Jessica's breakdown, she moved in with a friend. We didn't talk for a week. No texts. No emails. Silence. But I wasn't done. I needed to look him in the eyes. I wanted to see the man who helped destroy my marriage, and didn't even have the guts to face me. So I called him. To my surprise, he picked up like we were still buddies. "Eric? Dude, long time, man. I clenched my jaw. We need to talk. Face to face. You owe me that. He hesitated, then agreed. Said we could meet at a bar near his office in Denver. 2 days later, I was there. Sitting across from him in a booth, watching him smile like none of this mattered. I pulled out my phone, showed him the photos. The texts. Her diary. He scrolled through them like he was reading a boring email. Then he leaned back, took a sip of his drink, and laughed. Laughed. You really came all this way for that, he said. Jesus, man. Look, Jess was never happy with you. You're just the guy she settled for until she figured herself out. I didn't move. I didn't speak. I just stared at him. Then he said something I'll never forget. She's not yours anymore. Get over it. I got up. I didn't punch him, even though I wanted to. Instead, I left the bar and deleted every picture I ever had with him on my phone. Ethan was dead to me. And Jessica? She was next. 3 nights after I saw Ethan, I woke up to pounding on my door. 2:08 a.m. I checked the peephole, it was her. Jessica. Drunk. Crying. Smudged eyeliner and messy hair. Like a ghost of the woman I married. I opened the door, phone in hand, video already recording. I needed everything documented now, every word, every trick. Eric, please. I made a mistake, she slurred, stumbling forward. I didn't move. She dropped to her knees, literally on the ground in the hallway. I messed up. He doesn't care about me. I thought I wanted freedom, but I want you. I need you. You're my home, Eric. I didn't say a word. She started screaming. Say something. Say something. You can't just look at me like that. I calmly pointed to the phone. She froze. You're recording me, she whispered. I nodded. You think I'm crazy now? I nodded again. You're not staying here. Go sleep it off somewhere else. This is over. She collapsed against the doorframe, sobbing like she was the victim. But I'd seen the hotel. I'd read the diary. I'd heard Ethan laugh. There was no coming back. I closed the door. Locked it. Sat on the floor. And for the first time since it all started, I cried. After Jessica's 2 a.m. breakdown at my door, I sat with that video for hours. Part of me wanted to delete it. Pretend it never happened. But the other part, the part she shattered, wanted people to see. Not to humiliate her. But to stop protecting her lies. I sent the video to 2 people. Her mom. And her dad. They'd always liked me. Her mom even once told Jessica she won the lottery with a guy like Eric. No text. No explanation. Just the file. 30 minutes later, her mom called. She was crying. She apologized. Over and over. I had no idea. She told us you were cold. Controlling. That you pushed her away. I almost laughed. I'd spent 6 years doing everything to make Jessica feel loved. Supported. Seen. And she painted me like some monster just to justify screwing around with another man. Then her dad called. Different tone. Angry. Protective. Not of her, of me. If she tries to come back, don't let her. She needs help. And you deserve better. Later that day, I got a furious string of texts from Jessica. How could you send that to my parents? You're disgusting. You're trying to ruin my life. No apology. No ownership. Just rage. She wasn't sorry she hurt me. She was sorry I showed the truth. A week after the 2 a.m. visit, I started going through our joint finances to prep for the divorce. That's when I found it. Bank statements with charges I didn't recognize. Spa weekends in Scottsdale. A $2,400 jewelry purchase in Dallas. Flights to cities she never told me about. Hotel charges during times she claimed to be working from home. I dug deeper. Opened her iCloud calendar backup. She never deleted old appointments, just hid them. Turns out, Ethan wasn't the only one. There was another guy. Greg. Apparently from a different marketing firm. They met twice in Miami. Once in LA. One of the diary entries I'd missed even said, "Greg makes me feel alive, Ethan could never." My wife wasn't just cheating. She was collecting men like some sick game. Like I was the stable backup, and they were the prizes. And I had no idea. I thought my heart couldn't break more. But watching the woman I loved turn out to be a stranger with a second life. That shattered me. After finding out about Greg, I wasn't sure I could handle more. But I had to know how deep the rabbit hole went. I found his LinkedIn. He worked for a firm in sent him a message. Didn't expect an answer. But he replied. And what he told me turned everything upside down. At first, he thought I was some jealous ex. But once I told him I was Jessica's husband. Silence. Then. Wait, you're married to Jessica? He sounded genuinely shocked. We got on a call. He was calm. Professional. Hurt, but not defensive. Greg had no idea she was married. She told me she was divorced. Said her husband cheated. I even felt sorry for her. I almost laughed out loud. He went on. We weren't serious. But we were definitely physical. 3 trips. She paid for the rooms. Seemed like she didn't want any paper trail. I told him about Ethan. He cursed under his breath. Then he said. Man. I don't know what game she's playing, but it's not just cheating. This feels pathological. He wasn't angry at me. He was angry for me. Turns out, Jessica had a whole persona she presented to Greg, free, single, successful, healing from past betrayal. I was the dead husband in her story. And now? I was done playing dead. 2 weeks after sending the video to her parents, I got served. Not divorce papers, a cease and desist. Jessica claimed I'd violated her privacy, caused her emotional distress, and attempted character defamation. She was suing me. The woman who cheated on me with multiple men. Who lied about who she was. Who showed up drunk at my door begging for forgiveness. Was now playing the victim in court. Luckily, I had receipts. I lawyered up fast. My attorney took one look at the folder I'd compiled, screenshots, video, messages, iCloud backups, and said. You're fine. In fact, she's in trouble. The judge agreed. Her motion was dismissed immediately. In fact, during the hearing, the judge reprimanded her for trying to manipulate the court to cover her own actions. When we walked out, she glared at me like I'd ruined her life. But she had done that all by herself. This wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about freedom. And I was finally getting it. It happened by accident. I was dropping off the last box of her stuff at her friend's place. She wasn't home. But the box ripped as I carried it up the stairs. Out fell a cheap little prepaid phone. A burner. At first, I thought it was old. But when I powered it on, it lit up. Fully charged. No password. I wish I could forget what I saw. Hundreds of texts. Most were to other men. Some under code names like J, K-Man, Hugh LOL. She wasn't seeing 2 men. She was juggling 6. 6 confirmed. 2 were married. One of them sent photos. She responded with videos. There were also Cash App receipts. She was getting money from at least two of them. My wife had been running a side life as a sugar baby, while married to me. The diary was nothing compared to this. She didn't just cheat. She curated different versions of herself depending on who she was with: submissive, dominant, flirty, tragic, adventurous. I stared at the screen in disbelief, thinking, who the hell did I marry? 3 days later, I got a call from an unknown number. Hi, is this Eric? Yes. This is Dan Richards, Jessica's direct manager. I hope I'm not intruding, but something's come up, and I think you deserve to know. I braced myself. He told me Jessica had falsified expense reports, claimed business trips that never happened, used her corporate card for client meals that were actually romantic dinners, even charged hotel suites where no meetings ever took place. She forged signatures, he said. Internal audit caught it last week. We were shocked. Then the bombshell. She claimed you pressured her to do it. That you demanded she bring in more bonuses. That it was all for the marriage. I almost dropped the phone. Not only was she lying professionally, she was throwing me under the bus to save herself. Dan ended the call with, "We've terminated her contract. She may be facing legal consequences. I thought you should know, I don't think this is over." I just nodded. It wasn't over. But it would be soon. After her termination, Jessica went silent for a while. Then, like clockwork, she showed up again. Not drunk. Not angry. Sweet. Calm. Crying. The "I've changed" version. Eric. I need to talk. Just talk. Please. I've hit rock bottom. I agreed. But I set up 2 cameras, one hidden in the lamp, one behind a photo frame. She sat on the couch. Pulled out a little photo album. Pictures of us. Notes we wrote each other in college. Fake tears. Nostalgia. Manipulation 101. Then came her pitch. Let's try counseling. I'll admit everything. We'll rebuild. I'll sign a post-nup. Anything. I waited. Then asked, are there any other men I don't know about? She paused. Bit her lip. No. I hit play on the burner phone recordings. The text logs. The video of her with a man on the same day she said she was at her mother's. She froze. Then, rage. You're insane, Eric. You've been spying on me like some psycho. She stormed out. That night, I uploaded the video to my attorney with a note. She will try something again. This is my protection. 2 weeks later, I got a voicemail from her mother. Eric. Jess has been taken in. There was a warrant. I don't know what's going on. I called Dan, her ex-boss. Turns out, corporate legal had pressed charges for fraud, falsifying documents, and misuse of funds. Over $20,000 in stolen expenses. She had signed for fake clients. I felt nothing. Just relief. It wasn't revenge. I didn't make this happen. She did it all to herself. I was just done pretending I was the villain. She spent 48 hours in custody. Got released on bail. I haven't heard from her since. And that's exactly how I want it. It's been 7 months. The divorce is final. I moved into a new apartment. I cut my hair. Got back into the gym. Started therapy. But most of all, I stopped hiding. For months, I felt ashamed that she cheated. Like it was a reflection of me. But now I know better. It wasn't because I was boring. Or not enough. Or too trusting. It was because she was broken in ways I couldn't fix. She wore masks. Told lies. Lived double, triple lives. And I loved a character, not the person behind it. Now. I wake up alone, but peaceful. I make coffee and don't wonder if someone's texting my wife behind my back. And when people ask what happened, I just say, I lost someone I never really had. And found myself again.